peace and prosperity of the whole humanity. Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishna Yate Namaha. Asato ma tadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma mritagamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from unreal to the real, to lead us from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We were discussing about the free will. Sri Ramakrishna had said free will had been implanted in everyone's mind. We have to see how the free will operates upon. We may make a distinction between determinism and limitations or conditions that beset our exercise of free will. Determinism connotes inevitability. And if one could see into the future, one can accurately predict coming events in all their details. Not so if it is a case of only limitations. Limitations can be overcome by effort. Further, limitations do not preclude alternative course of action. As such, a far-seeing person can only guess at the future course of events with no certainty about its correctness in its entirety. If everything is determined, the fact that we are presented with alternative courses of action carries no meaning. In the very nature of things, we take the help of our faculties and past experience to decide upon a particular course of action. We have several courses of action open to us before we actually act. But once we act in one way only. Now, the determinist may ask a question, why that particular way and not any other? It is not significant because that question can be raised even if another way was chosen. Shankaracharya, a great philosopher, has made distinction between knowledge and action. It is very important for us to know what is action, what is knowledge. Shankaracharya says, action can be done, not done, or done in different ways because it is not a pre-existing entity. But not so in the case of knowledge. We can know existing things only in the way they are presented to our cognition. To take an example, a tree can be seen only as a tree and not as a building. We can't have a conscious alternative course with regard to it. Thus, in action, we are presented with various alternatives, but our choice of action may be restricted depending upon our knowledge, depending upon our experience, depending on outward circumstances. Restriction does not connote determination. It only means there are barriers to the exercise of freedom. When we act, we visualize a future or consequence and try to direct our activity to the fulfillment of our ends. Again, the fruition of the activity also may depend upon so many factors, but that does not necessarily mean that the end was determined to be in that particular way. The material world, no doubt, seems to work under the causal law. But this does preclude effecting changes in the world without infringing the general law of causation. What may be precluded is what is called a miracle. So far as inanimate nature is concerned, the eternal flux in nature constitutes its freedom. But the law of causality that it seems to obey gives a stability and direction to it and makes it amenable to purposive activity by intelligent beings. If the changes in nature were to be capricious without obeying any causal law, no purposive activity would have been possible. Life itself would be impossible. So, determinism in nature is a very necessary factor to endow it with order and stability in the midst of change. We can't expect to act upon human minds in the same way as on material nature because there is an element of freedom in human behavior, however much that freedom may be restricted. In individuals, the freedom is more expressed and it gets more and more circumscribed as we come to large groups. Exercise of free will may be guided by our knowledge, past experience, and so on, and restricted by circumstances. On this account, we will not be justified in declaring that this is not true free will, because this is the only possible way of expressing human free will directed to purposive activity in the phenomenal world. Absolute free will directed to nothing and guided by nothing is a mere caprice. If we have no absolute free will, there is no absolute determinism either. The world process involving animate and inanimate activity, even if moving towards definite end, may not be a completely predetermined thing, like the unrolling of a cinema film, where everything, every detail, including the apparent free activity and the sense of freedom, is fixed. It's quite possible to liken it to the script of a drama. The whole play may be pre-written, but there is freedom in enacting it, and sometimes in adapting it, or improvising innovations even. The theatres may be of different types, with varying types of equipment, scenery, decoration, and so on. The team of actors too may be different. The way in which it is acted may be different, and the actors too, without breaking the general tenor of the script, may introduce novelty in acting and improvising the dialogues. Let us take an example of cooking. As in cooking, the ingredients used and their properties may be fixed, but varieties of dishes may be cooked by making different permutations and combinations. It is true, we act on the basis of our knowledge and past experience, but does not the fact that we have the capacity to look back upon our past experiences, examine and evaluate them, and accumulate wisdom for future application, does it not constitute human freedom? Human life is a journey through the dark passage of ignorance to the light of knowledge. The will is an instrument with which we conduct our lives, and the more we advance in knowledge, the more efficient is the functioning of the will. It gains more and more freedom as we advance towards knowledge. Knowledge should not be equated here with mere intellectual knowledge, but assimilated knowledge, that which becomes a part and parcel of our lives. Knowledge is virtue. As we gain in knowledge of the workings of nature, both internal and external, we acquire self-mastery and advance towards greater freedom. Let us now consider the Vedantic view of the problem of free will. How does Vedanta handle it? It's very important. We are all practicing Vedanta. We must know very definitely in what manner we should make use of the free will, what exactly it means, how it operates, and so on. So Vedantic application is very beneficial. It holds that Everything that is phenomenal is subject to law. The whole universe is governed by law and order. And in its special application to living beings, especially human beings, where mind is developed, the causal law operates as the law of karma and the cosmic order as moral order. The law of karma states that man acts on the basis of his character, which itself is the resultant of his past actions and thoughts. And in its moral aspect, it operates as a principle. As you sow, so you reap. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Yajnarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. Lord Krishna says that even the learned act according to character which is formed by impressions of past actions. The will, according to Vedanta, comes into existence only when the mind comes into contact with phenomenal objects and there arises desire in the mind. Before this contact, no will is produced in the mind. Will is a compound, a mixture of the internal and the external. Therefore, will is phenomenal and cannot be really free. It is subject to the same law of causality which the phenomenal universe is subject to. Further, Vedanta holds mind itself is material, only it is fine matter. Therefore, it is subject to law. Swami Vivekananda says in his complete works. Though the law of karma is deterministic in its nature, it also asserts the freedom of the individual. Whence then is this freedom? What is the explanation of this sense of freedom in man? Vedanta answers, true. Nothing phenomenal is free. But as the substratum of the universe, there is a non-material reality which is untouched by nature and therefore absolutely free. This reality is called Brahman. It is pure consciousness and is the source of all phenomena. Brahman, in association with its inscrutable power called Maya, veils its real nature and projects the phenomenal universe endowed with law and order, just as we project the dream universe when we veil our waking personality in sleep. This Brahman, which is behind the whole universe, therefore, behind every one of the objects in it, is also behind every human personality, as the true self of every person, endowing human personality with consciousness. Brahman as self behind the individual is called the Atman. Now, apart from Atman, the principle of consciousness, the whole psychophysical personality, consisting of the mind stuff, senses, and the body, is phenomenal. Once it is phenomenal, it is subject to law. The self is reflected as a psyche or living soul in the psychophysical being. It is thus the soul. What is that soul? The reflected self. That's called soul, which is caught up in the meshes of the phenomena. And it also derives its freedom from the self. If one can free oneself from phenomena by identifying oneself with the true self, one realizes oneself as eternally free. But until then, the nearer one is to the self, the greater is the freedom that he feels. And the farther away he is from it, the lesser is the freedom that he feels. The light and freedom of the self permeates through the different layers of our psychophysical personality. That which is more proximate to the self, reflecting more of it. The finer the layer, the more interior to it is, and therefore more proximate to the self. Mind being a very subtle matter, the freedom of the self is reflected in it more than in the body, and in the body more than in inanimate nature. Again, a pure mind reflects the self more than a mind tinged with worldly desires. Therefore, it is the freedom of the self that enables us to feel the sense of freedom, and it is in association with this higher self or true self that we exercise freedom. The will is not free, but that which is behind the will is free. And the will derives its freedom, limited though it be, from the self. Thus, karma always goes hand in hand with the freedom of the self. And this is a factor which gives rise to the moral responsibility. We realize greater and greater freedom as we advance towards our true self, the higher self. That is, to the extent we are able to set aside the lower self and allow the higher self to act, we gain in freedom. And when the lower self is completely eliminated, we realize the fullness of freedom in our true self. Moral struggle would be impossible and meaningless if there were pure determinism and no freedom of the self. As things stand, it is only our phenomenal personality, the psychophysical personality, which is affected by imperfection, and our true self is ever free and perfect. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Svabhava. Therefore, Lord Krishna advises us to take our stand on the self and fight the moral battle. Gita says, knowledge of the true self is covered by this, the constant foe of the wise, the unappeasable fire of desire. The senses, the mind, and the intellect are said to be its abode of desires. Through these, it dilutes the embodied by veiling his wisdom. The senses are said to be superior to the body. The mind is superior to the senses. The intellect is superior to the mind. And that which is superior to the intellect as a source of consciousness and freedom is that self or Atman. Thus, knowing that Atman who is superior to the intellect and restraining the self by the self, destroy that enemy, the unseizable foe, desire, which was the cause of bondage. Evam buddhehe param buddhva samstabhyatmanamatmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. Gita verse. Finally, it is well to remember that it is we who pose the problem of free will and examine it as detached witnesses, thus asserting the freedom of the human soul. The real man is not the machine, but its operator. The working of the machine is strictly determined by the design, but its movements can be controlled and guided by an operator. The working of the car is determined, but the driver can control it and keep it to the road and guide it in different directions to reach the destination. Similarly, human will is an instrument, strictly determined, but amenable to control and guidance in its operation to serve moral and spiritual ends. That's all about this free will, how we should make use of it to go towards our real self, the real self behind us, behind every one of us. You can say that divine self as a divine light. So that light is shining in everyone's heart. That light is the true self. That light is called Atman, which is part and parcel of the Paramatman. So, we must make use of all faculties, even the free will is used towards reaching that highest state of realizing one's own true nature. Page 544. I faced the discipline of the Tantra under the bell tree. At that time I could see no distinction between the sacred tulsi and any other plant. In that state I sometimes ate the leavings from a jackal's meal, food that had been exposed the whole night, part of which might have been eaten by snakes or other creatures. Yes, I ate that stuff. Sometimes I rode on a dog and fed him with luchi, also eating part of the bread myself. I realized that the whole world was filled with God alone. One can't have spiritual realization without destroying ignorance. So I would assume the attitude of a tiger and devour ignorance. While practicing the disciplines of the Vedas, I became a sannyasi. I used to lie down in the Chandani and say to Hriday, I am a sannyasi, I shall take my meals here. I vowed to the Divine Mother that I would kill myself if I did not see God. I said to her, O Mother, I am a fool. Please teach me what is contained in the Vedas, the Puranas, the Tantras and other scriptures. The mother said to me, the essence of the Vedanta is that Brahman alone is real and the world illusory. The Satchidananda Brahman described in the Vedas is the Satchidananda Shiva of the Tantra and the Satchidananda Krishna of the Purana. The essence of the Gita is what you get by repeating the word 10 times. It is reversed to Tyagi, which indicates renunciation. After the realization of God, how far below lie the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Purana, the Tantra? To Hazra, I said, I can't utter the word Om in Samadhi. Why is that? I can't say Om unless I come down very far from the state of Samadhi. I had all the experiences that one should have according to the scriptures after one's direct perception of God. I behaved like a child, like a madman, like a ghoul, and like an inert thing. I saw the visions described in the scriptures. Sometimes I saw the universe filled with sparks of fire. Sometimes I saw all the quarters glittering with light, as if the world were a lake of mercury. Sometimes I saw the world as if made of liquid silver. Sometimes again I saw all the quarters illumined as if with the light of Roman candles. So you see, my experiences tally with those described in the scriptures. It was revealed to me further that God Himself has become the universe and all its living beings and the 24 cosmic principles. It is like the process of evolution and involution. Oh, what a state God kept me in that at that time. One experience would hardly be over before another overcame. It was like the movement of the husking machine. No sooner is one end down than the other goes up. I would see God in meditation, in the state of samadhi, and I would see the same God when my mind came back to the outer world. When looking at this side of the mirror, I would see Him alone, and when looking on the reverse side, I saw the same God. The devotees listened to these words with rapt attention. To the Mukherjee brothers, he said, Captain is now really in the state of the sadhaka, that the mere possession of wealth should create attachment is by no means true. Shambhu Malik used to say to Hridu, I have packed my things and I am ready for the journey. I said to him, God forbid. Why do you say such ominous words? No, replied Shambhu, please bless me that I may cast aside all these possessions and go to God. God's devotees have nothing to fear. They are His own. He always stands by them. Once Duryodhana and his brothers were imprisoned by the Gandharvas. It was Yudhishthira who freed them. Yudhishthira said, if our relatives are placed in such a plight, then it is our disgrace. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening. The Mukherjee brothers were ready to return to Calcutta. The master left his seat and began to pace the room and the porch. He could hear the kirtan sung in the Vishnu temple. A devotee said that Harish and Latu were in the singing party. Sri Ramakrishna and the devotees went to the Vishnu temple and saluted the deity. The Brahmins belonging to the staff of the temple garden and also the priests, the cooks and the servants were singing the kirtan. He stood there a few minutes and encouraged the singers. On the way back to his room, he remarked to the devotees, "You see, some of them polish the metal utensils and some go to houses of prostitution." The master returned to his room and took his seat. Presently the singers came and bowed low before him. The master said to them, "One should perspire dancing and singing the name of God as people do earning money. I had thought of joining you in the dancing, but I found that you did everything very well. You had flavored the curry with all the seasoning. What could I add? It will be nice if you sing devotional songs that way now and then." The Mukherjee brothers saluted the master. The carriage was ready near the veranda north of the room. The master stood facing the north. On his left was the Ganges. In front of him were the Nahabat, the garden, and the Kuti. And to his right was a road leading to the gate. The night was dark, and a devotee had brought a lantern to show the visitors their way. One by one the devotees bowed and took the dust of the master's feet. The carriage seemed too heavily loaded for the horses. The master said, "Are not there too many people in the carriage?" Sri Ramakrishna remained standing. As the carriage rolled away, the devotees looked back at the master's face, beaming with compassion and love. A large number of devotees were in Sri Ramakrishna's room, among them Ram Mahendra Mukherjee M. and Chunilal. Chunilal had just returned from Vrindavan, where he had gone with Rakhal and Balram. The two latter were still there. Nitya Gopal also was staying there. The master began to talk with the Chunilal about Vrindavan. We shall stop there. Whatever free will you have is all restricted. It has got limitation. But free will is implanted in everyone, as Sri Ramakrishna said, so that you feel responsible for what you are doing and what you intend to do. So that you may feel responsible for your future course of action. That's the way how we should understand. We should not become desperate thinking that everything is determined and we don't have to do anything. It's not like that. We have to fight the darkness of ignorance. As long as we are in this phenomenal world, we are in darkness. So, you have to fight by whatever means you adopt. What is needed is to get rid of this ignorance. So, you must assimilate the spiritual ideas, the tenets of Vedanta, the true nature of yourself. Try to be more focused towards your true self, and then guide all your activities accordingly. Then use your free will so that you can go towards purity and perfection. As I said earlier, absolute freedom is in the absolute Brahman. So as long as we are having body, as long as we are encased in this body-mind, we are guided by all these forces operating in the phenomenal world. So, it's very important to understand these things clearly and Carry on your life cautiously so that you may reach the final goal. Any comments to give? Wonderful. No. Anybody? All right, we shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean, and quenched that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bought for weary souls. Various sought thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for that day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous reign tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be freed from calamity. May all holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.